Victoria Henley will start with asking questions. We will try to keep our questions short and to the point, and we ask that your answers be short and to the point as well. I give Victoria Henley the floor now.
Good morning, Mrs. Miron. I'm going to begin with an issue having to do with 76,000 euro deposits to a bank account. And I'll read briefly just the factual background and then ask you some questions. In your NIA declarations for 2012 through 2014, you declared a bank account with a balance of initially 14,000 euros and then 12,000 euros. You declared this account with a notation that the funds in the account belonged to your parents. In your answers to the Commission's questions, you stated that you opened the bank account after your parents returned to Moldova and deposited money received from your parents because it was easier for you to go to the bank and withdraw money for them to pay for certain expenses, and that periodically amounts were withdrawn from the account and the account became smaller. The account was opened with an initial deposit of 26,000 euros, and between April and October of 2011, more than 50,000 euros were deposited into the account and approximately 57,000 euros were withdrawn. In the Commission's second set of questions, you were asked about the source of these funds and how the funds were deposited to the account, and if they involved transfers from your mother, to identify the accounts from which the funds were transferred. In your answers submitted on September 17, 2022, you failed to identify any of the sources of the funds, and to provide any information about transfers from your mother. In the Commission's third set of questions, you were also asked about the withdrawals of 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros, and 12,000 euros and 24,000 euros, what they were used for, and to provide confirmation documents. In your answers submitted on October 24, 2022, you stated that each amount withdrawn was passed on to your parents in cash and that your mother did not remember the destination,
Destinația sumelor retrase, dar că acestea au fost folosite pentru trai,
etc. You did not produce any documentation regarding how the funds were spent. The only bank records you provided were for 2012.
La perioada 2012.
The account was opened in 2011, and deposits of 76,000 euros were made in 2011. Okay, my first question. In your NIA declarations for 2012 to 2014, you declared a bank account with a balance initially of 14,000 euros and then 12,000 euros, with the notation that the funds in the account belonged to your parents. Is that correct?
Well, in the answers, I provided the details, but I think there is some confusion and I think some clarification is required. In 2011, my parents had returned from Portugal. They have had an accident and they were no longer able to continue to live there. So they came to Moldova. And on that same day, on my account, 26,000 euros were deposited, and there is a particular amount deposited on the account of my sister. I do not want to go into details now because they've already answered this question. The need was there because for half a year in 2011, they lived at my place because they didn't have conditions to live in elsewhere. So they made renovation. They've adapted the house in the district where they used to live. They needed to accommodate it for the needs of a person with disability. So they then they moved there in that other house. And my mother is with my father all the time because he's in a difficult, critical condition. He doesn't feel good at all. So that's why, yeah, well, my mother wasn't feeling comfortable either, and just in case, she has deposited this amount on my account and my sister's account, and when she needed money, I would withdraw the money. The 2011 declaration didn't have a section where I could have indicated this information. As in, I couldn't have said that, look, I opened an account with this particular amount, and in order to foresee these sort of situations like today, like the current situation, so I decided to put that down at a particular section. So I did put down the 26,000 euros. And then until 2015, my mother set her house right and she bought furniture, and I was the one to withdraw it. Even ordered, withdrew the money. I ordered the other needs that she had to fit out the house. And I put that down in the bank statement for 2012, and that's what the bank said, that they could only provide me the bank statements, the detailed bank statements, starting with 2012. That's what the bank said. So starting with 2011 up to 2015, withdrawals have been made from the account, and there must have been a mistake in your questions, and thus those withdrawals, they were summed up together, and that's how you got to 76,000 euros. There has never been any other amount uploaded to that account. It was only these amounts that kept being withdrawn until it went down to zero. The balance went down to zero. So your question about the 50,000, I mean, no way. I don't know. I asked from the bank another type of explanation. They gave me two bank statements, and they said, this is everything that we have in our database. And they said that they can clearly see that this money was withdrawn. So it's perhaps an incorrect, erroneous interpretation. I have never had other money on that account. And all the time in the declarations, I tried to put it down the way I thought it was right.
Aside from the initial deposit of 26,000 euros, do I understand you correctly that no additional deposits were made to that account at any time?
Never again have there been other deposits. Only withdrawals from the bank account until the balance was zero. Never have I deposited other amounts. I don't know, maybe it's required for the bank to confirm again. Maybe it should provide something in a textual manner, because looking at the statements, it might be a little bit hard to figure out and to realize with all those technical terms and all, but those amounts are only withdrawals. And somehow there's always a withdrawal, and then they show you the balance that is left on the account, and then another withdrawal and the balance left.
That we've made available to you today, and if you could just look for it's a Excel bank printout sheet.
Da. Nu știu dacă e ăsta.
No, yeah, those are the ones that you produced. There should be another one. I think that's the one you have now. Yeah, the one that's in your left hand.
Ăsta nu l-am prezentat eu.
This one was not produced by me, the one that you're referring to. It's not produced by me.
And I believe it's produced by the bank. And that indicates for this account, deposits and withdrawals starting from April 29, 2011, through the closing of the account on March 9, 2015.
Cred că da, nu mi-e greu.
I guess, though, no, it's hard for me to figure out and to... I guess that is right.
If you look at let's see, there's a column with values, and it starts with the initial deposit of 26,000 euros, and then indicates a withdrawal on that date of 26,000 euros, then shows a deposit on June 20th of 1,000 euros, and then a withdrawal on June 20th of 1,058 euros. Later shows additional deposit on October 4 of 1,000 euros, and withdrawals on October 4 of 1,233 euros, additional deposit on October 26, 2011 of 24,000 euros, and a withdrawal the same day of 24,000 euros. A further withdrawal on October 27 of 4,000 euros, a deposit on October 27, 2021 of 24,000 euros, and then through 2011-2012, kind of a remaining balance starting at about 22,000 euros and drawn down and closed on 2015. Does this comport with your recollection of activity in the account?
Nu, categoric.
No, certainly not. I haven't seen this information so far. I don't know. Maybe there are some operations conducted by the bank out of what they produce, but I provided the other documentation that shows clearly there was 26,000 euros, and only every time there were withdrawals of 1,000, of 2,000 euros, there were no other deposits. In this particular case, I think this has to be clarified by the bank. The bank needs to provide explanation as to why there is this reimbursement, credit, interest. Never has their money been deposited on this account, only there were only withdrawals. And I think that the other statements that I provided are clearer, I believe, and I think that, well, they are more precise.
Activity in the account from 2012, and the account activity was in 2011.
Nu, absolut.
No, there was certainly only 26,000 deposited. So I will ask for clarifications from the bank to show me the information from 2011, because when I sorted, they said that they only had information for 10 years. But, well, I must say that there has been no other deposits in that account, nothing else but what I declared. There was no point for me not to declare, not to continue to declare other deposits.
So you were asked by the commission about the source of funds for each of the deposits, and so it's your position that there were no additional deposits to the account?
No.
Okay.
No, there weren't.
Depune...
As for the source of the initial deposits, I provided some notes from my parents, some records from my parents, but I don't want to go into that because you have them and I guess you already know what they were about.
Is there anything you wish to add or further clarify with regard to the account?
Sincer, îmi pare straniu.
Honestly, I find this bizarre, why this has happened, why this inconsistency is there. When you asked me the question, I was trying to answer it. I saw that the withdrawals looked to me summed up together, and I didn't know why that issue even appeared. And if it's necessary, and if you give me this opportunity, I'll go to the bank to ask for a written explanation as to why did they give you an information that is different than what the bank gave me. Thank you.
And now we'll turn to the Rashkan houses. And so I'll read you just some brief background and then have some questions. On October 3rd, 2014, your mother purchased 2 land plots of .055 half-acre each, located in Chisinau, Rashkan district, for 480,000 MDL. And so it was 242,000 roughly and 241,000 roughly for each of the 2 lots. In 2015, your mother started construction of 2 identical houses with a surface of 190 square meters each. In a written statement dated August 6, 2022, that you submitted to the commission, your mother states that she purchased the land plots in Chisinau and then paid for building the houses because she wanted one of her children to be at her and your stepfather's side, as they need support in daily activities given their age and health condition. In 2018, before construction was complete, your mother transferred the property rights to one of the houses being constructed to you and your husband through an alienation contract with the condition of maintenance for life. So on October 3rd, 2014, your mother purchased 2 land plots of .055 half-acre each, located in Chisinau, Rashkan district, for a total of 480,000 MDL. Is that correct?
Nu știu, eu am...
I don't know why I put down the amount that was in the contract. My mother gave me the contracts, and that is the amount that I wrote. I don't remember it right now. If that's what I wrote in my answers, I guess that is right.
And in 2015, your mother started construction of 2 identical houses with a surface of 190 square meters each, correct?
Da, da.
Yes, they are identical.
So why did your mother buy 2 plots of land and build 2 houses rather than 1?
So as I explained their situation, and in the district of Kriuleni, they've been living there for about a year and a half or 2, and they returned to Chisinau, and they bought an apartment in an apartment block. They lived there for a couple of years, and because of the health condition of my father, and also the neighbors were not happy with their presence there because he screams, and that's why they were forced sort of into where they had to buy a land plot to build a house. And also she understood that she had to depend on us, and I mean that she couldn't leave my father alone. We do the shopping, we help her with everything that is required because she has to take care of my father, and she also wouldn't feel comfortable, wouldn't feel fine and healthy. They would even call the ambulance and would have to go over to their place all the time. So that's why they decided to have 2 houses, to build 2 houses, so that one of the children is always closer. And that was her decision, because when she bought the land plots, there was no discussion about me precisely being the one living there next to my parents. This is something that was decided later on over the years, because I have two other sisters. This is something that I've already declared previously in the declaration that I submitted.
Decided that you would move into and occupy the second house that was being built?
Pe parcursul
Over the years and before this agreement, this contract was entered into, because I insisted on making it official. She just wanted us to move in there next to her, and I thought it was not right. I had to declare it. And I insisted on officializing it, on formalizing it, and she's developed this contract.
Tell me whether that was before the construction started, or is there any way to fix a time on that?
nu.
No, this happened in 2018. The construction was already progressed, and that's because she already lived in one of the houses. She had already moved in one of the houses in 2018 in spring, and at that time the decision was made, because when the construction started at that time there was practically nothing there, no utilities connections, nothing. And when she moved in, there was already electricity, but she was afraid because she didn't have neighbors. I mean, it was just a couple of people in that entire parcel or portion of the region where the houses were built. So she tried to find a way to persuade us to move in next to her, but it was hard for us to make a decision because we had our own families and children. Still, this was decided back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when the contract was developed. If you want me to describe the situation in the house in greater detail, I mean the condition that the house was in 2018.
She transfers the house to you in 2018. So she's building two houses, and it's not decided until 2018 who would be occupying the other house?
Nu, discuția
Now, there's been discussion prior to that.
cel mai mult, aportul meu a fost cel mai mare de ajutor pe care l-am dat. Și ea ne-a
Most in terms of helping my parents. And then she told me that she had this intention, so I knew about it. I knew about her intention.
Recall when she first told you about her plan to have you move into the house?
It's hard to tell now, but it was maybe a year before that, or a year and a half or two. I can't be very precise. I mean, there was like discussion in the family. I did not try to sort of remember when exactly this happened. It didn't feel like it was something that important to remember when exactly it happened, but it was before this transfer happened, certainly.
And your mother did transfer in 2018, before the construction was complete, one of the two houses to you and your husband through an alienation contract with a condition of maintenance for life. Is that correct?
Da, exact.
Yes.
You have two siblings who did not receive an interest in the Roscan house. Is that correct?
Nu. Eu am două surori, v-am zis că în 2011 mama mea a transferat pe contul uneia dintre surori bani, cealaltă soră probabil n-au format încă legal documentele, dar cealaltă soră...
Formalize it yet in documents, but the other sister lives in the apartment of my parents on Moscow Boulevard. But as for the house where my mother lives, sorry, I think no decision was made yet as to who will it belong to, maybe to my sisters.
Neither of them has been transferred a home or apartment by your parents.
Cred că...
I guess not. I don't know about these details, but I know that not. But they, as I said, one of them lives in the apartment. So it's like the apartment of the sister already, but they did not formalize it in documents yet for that apartment on Moscow Boulevard.
So as of February 10, 2018, which I believe is when your mother donated the house to you and your husband, the house was 70% complete. And you informed the commission that you received the house in white walls condition. Neither you or your mother have confirmed the amount of expense involved in the construction of the houses, saying that no checks were kept, that your mother does not remember even the approximate total amount spent on the construction of two 190 square meter houses. You have told the commission that your mother did not spend anything else on the house after it was transferred to you and your husband, and that the construction materials for the interior finishing were given to you along with the house: parquet, terracotta, doors, heating materials, and other materials. In 2019, you moved into the house and it became your permanent place of residence. You told the commission that you and your family have carried out work on the house yourselves, but since you received the unfinished house in 2018, you've declared spending only 60,000 lei, roughly 3,000 euros, in July of 2021 on the construction of the 190 square meter house, although you've been living there since 2019. Your mother's identical house is now worth, I believe, either 2.4 or 2.7 million lei, according to the cadaster. So you've informed the commission that you have no idea of the cost of constructing the Roshkani house, and that your mother has no idea either. Is that correct?
Da, și vreau să dau o explicație.
Yes, and I would like to explain the reasons for that. It's because they were built in parallel. So when the construction materials would be bought, they would buy twice the amount that they would need for one house. So they did not keep separate records. And also they did not hire a firm or a company. They did not have a contract with a company that would have built it on their own. I mean, at different stages, there were different groups of workers. They would be, for instance, found on these websites, and there would be different teams contracted to do the foundation of the house, and then another group of people built the walls, and then another group of people were in charge of the roof, and then all the other finishing works were done by different groups of workers. And I knew that the source of funds of my parents was legal, and I had no doubts about it. So that's why I did not even think about keeping any track of that, any record of that. I thought that in any given moment they would be able to prove that they had the money, that they owned the money. And so she didn't think she would ever need it, as in all these bills and checks and receipts and that back, because she used to have them. She kept these receipts for a number of years, but she never thought she'd need them, and she threw them away. And there was no separate records were kept on the building of the houses. But in 2018, when the donation contract was entered into, so we took the data from the cadastre, that is the 2017 valuation, and the notary said that if it has been valuated, a new valuation is not required. But since 2017 onwards till 2018, when my mother moved in one of the houses, she still continued to do the works in both houses until she donated the house to me. So it was like the white walls, meaning that at the first floor we only had the tiles in the bathrooms, and we continued to do the painting and painting the walls, and then the parquet and the flooring that would be in the attic as well. So there were smaller things. It was more convenient for her to buy twice the amount of construction materials, because that would also mean a discount for that, and she's never thought about differentiating and keeping separate records.
Building not one but two houses is a significant undertaking. Did your mother make all of these arrangements without any assistance from you or anyone else?
Nu.
No, she most of the time was busy at home taking care of my father, and that's why she often sought our support when we had to check how the works were performed. So my husband would do that. He would go there and check whether the workers were doing their job. And as regards the money, the payments, it was always her. She would make them all the time. That would have been otherwise, it would have been impossible for her not to have our support as well. It would have been hard for her to deal with that sort of an amount of work. And as regards the price differences, when it was declared livable, inhabitable, in her case, it was all practically finalized. In our case, our house was not finalized to a proper extent, and I guess that is the difference between the prices, the valuation for these two houses, and the amount there from the cadastre is from 2017. So I hoped that in this period of time we would manage, at least in some simple way, to finalize certain details for the house to be sort of declared habitable, and that is, well, the reason why we haven't yet evaluated it properly.
The house was 70% complete in 2017. You've declared only 60,000 lei spent in July 2021 for work done on the Roskani house, correct?
So just to add a few more details, all these works related to painting the walls and so on and so forth. These were minor works that we would cover with money from the salary. So we didn't keep record of that. It was nothing significant. The house was covered with this special material to isolate it. And there was and the glue that we bought in that period of time. And the only thing we did that summer is to apply some very thin layer of finishing. So we hired some workers from a popular website here, and then we had to buy the paint, and the whole painting cost us 60,000 lei. It was the only amount that was bigger. So when I'd buy the brushes or the paint buckets, I did not indicate that. I did not keep record of that. I didn't even remember.
Okay, and I think you indicated in your responses to the commission that since 2018, you've painted walls, installed doors, laminate, started to make a staircase. You assembled the kitchen, cabinets in the closet, ordering materials in several stages, including countertops, etc. But you didn't incur any expenses more than 25,000 lei since 2018.
Deci, vă explic din ce motiv.
I will explain you the reason why. If you take a look at the bank statement from my or my husband's bank card, you'll see it was bought gradually. All the furniture in the house and the material, the wood, for instance, furnishing separately, the handles or knobs separately, they were bought separately over a period of 4 or 5 months. My husband has a mini workshop in a way. He has all the tools. He was just giving the sides, and his task was to assemble it on the wall. So I never went to a shop and buy furniture for a big amount. And all of this can be visible in my bank statements from salary cards for expenses for construction purposes.
Okay, in the 2018 alienation contract, whereby your parents donated the house to you and your husband, it listed the value of the real estate as 460,838 lei. Is that correct?
Nu țin minte suma din...
I don't remember the amount from the contract, and I don't have it with me.
The alienation contract is in the materials that we gave you this morning. And I do believe, if I'm correct, it lists the value of the real estate at 460,838 lei.
Dacă este trecut...
Well, if it says so in the contract, it must be the value.
And I believe on a section Roman numeral 4 on a document that seems to be 4.2.
Imediat.
If I'm reading that correctly. Oops.
Da, o clipă.
Well, it says page 3 at the bottom, but
6.2.
it's more than the third page. Yes, 4.2.
Da, da.
Yes, that's what's written there.
How that amount was arrived at for the contract?
Poate este o eroare, nici nu m-am uitat.
Maybe there's a mistake. I never checked that amount. I never looked at it. It's the first time I look at it.
2018 NIA declaration, you declared the value of the lot that you received as part of the alienation contract at 242,261 lei. Is that correct?
Exact, probabil din...
Exactly. That's probably from the cadastre.
What your mother had paid for the lot. Is that correct?
Da, pentru că din...
Yes, because from the sale purchase contract that she showed to me for that lot.
2018 NIA declaration, you declared the value of the house at 679,415 lei. Is that correct?
Eu am luat valoarea din actul de evaluare.
I took that value from the evaluation document, from the evaluation report or act. So that's where I took the value from.
In the alienation contract, the property was valued at half of the value in your 2018 declaration?
Eu bănuiesc că este vorba pur și simplu de
I believe it must be just a mistake. There's no reason I would have written differently. So I didn't look at the contract. I looked at the Valuation Act. So I think it was just an error when it was written, and we did not pay attention to this amount. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for me to write it more than it was in the contract. But having the Valuation Act, I didn't pay attention to the donation agreement that we had.
Anything you wish to add or clarify on this point?
nu pot să clarific.
I cannot clarify. I can only later try to understand what's the error, what's the reasoning behind this amount, because we had the valuation, and when we had the contract, we provided the abstract from the Register of Real Estate.
You about a 10,000 euro loan from 2015. And in your 2015 NIA declaration, you indicated that your husband received a loan of 10,000 euro from a family member, which you indicated was to pay for installments on the purchase price of a preferential price apartment you contracted to purchase in 2015. Your declaration did not indicate a due date or an interest rate for the loan. In your 2018 declaration, the loan from the family member was declared as a loan of 5,000 euro, again without a due date or interest rate. So your 2015 NIA declaration indicated that your husband received a loan of 10,000 euro from a family member in 2015. Is that correct?
Da.
Yes, since I wrote that, it's right.
Okay, and this loan was to pay for installments on the purchase price of a preferential price apartment you contracted to purchase in 2015, correct?
Correct.
Contract or memorialization of the loan?
No, there was none. When I submitted the declaration, if I were to hide something, I could have drafted quickly loan agreement, but I didn't have such a purpose. In 2015, we got this loan. It's my husband's sister. In 2016, they lived with us. They moved in with us. They don't have children. She was feeling very bad. She was tested. She had like 3 surgeries on her spine. And they moved in with us. And since 2016 and until now, we live in our apartment on Stamati Street. So we have very close family relationships, and I believed, and the person who gave the money, that no loan agreement was necessary. I suspected there could be questions that I wouldn't be able to answer, and given that the Commission the Commission can invite the person that I took the loan from. Maybe you could invite my mother, so ask them about those data that I don't remember. But you are right, I did not have any loan agreement for this amount.
And in your 2018 NIA declaration, it indicated the loan from the family member was 5,000 euros, correct? Why did you declare the loan as 5,000 euros instead of 10,000 euros in 2018?
I will explain. During this time, since 2016, they lived with us. At the end of 2017, they sold their house in Drokia district. In 2018, they drafted the documentation of it. So we had a joint household, we could say. So for the reason that they live with us, they said, I don't have to reimburse the 5,000 euros. My husband insisted that we should refund them at least some part of the money because they need it. But I will not say they had an amount from the house they sold. I will not state it. They had enough money to live, and that was a sign of gratitude towards us for us helping them when they needed it.
They sold their house. What year did they sell their house?
Eu știu că
I remember they put it up for sale in the end of 2017, but they sold it and had the notary documents in April 2018, I think. And they got around 30,000 euros out of that. I may be mistaken, though, to some insignificant extent.
According to law number 1264/2002, applicable at the time, you had to declare debts in the form of debits, including mortgages, guarantees, loans, and credits. And the law obliged the subject of the declaration to declare the initial amount of the loan. And it's in your documents, Annex 1 of your 2018 declaration form, where the loan from the family member is declared, it says initial sum in column 5.
Mă iertați, la ce punct?
Come again, what point was that?
In your declaration where you declared the loan in 2015, in column 5, where the loan amount is listed, it says initial sum. On the very
I can't find it.
page, well, of the annex. The loans declared on the second to last page, section 7, Roman numeral 7.
Ah, mersi. Am înțeles, vă mulțumesc.
You should have a declaration for both 2015 and 2018. But nothing is written, no, not the year, no.
Look at it's on the 2018 NIA, the one that's complete. On the second to last page, Roman numeral 7, is the loan is filled in.
Da,
Right.
Yes.
It says initial sum.
da.
Right. So the law required you to declare the original amount of the loan, not the amount remaining to be paid. Is that correct?
A fost o eroare.
This was a mistake then, and I wrote what was left to be paid, and this can be seen from the previous declaration, because previously I wrote 10, and here I wrote 5. It was a mistake, not intended.
In response to a question from the Commission, in its first set of questions, whether the loan from the family member had been repaid, you stated, quote, during 2018, in several installments, part of the loan was repaid, 5,000 euros, correct?
Da, da.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also submitted to the Commission a written statement from the family member with your response to the first set of questions, correct? And I assume that you asked
Yes.
the member for a statement to submit to the Commission about the loan.
Da, bineînțeles.
Yes, of course.
Discuss with the family member what should be put in that statement.
Nu i-am spus.
No, I just told her to write what's truthful, and she believed that that loan is refunded, that we don't have to reimburse this amount. This can be confirmed in one of the declarations where we had questions about. I gave a phone number of this person so that this could be clarified with her.
Family member confirms that during 2018, the amount of euros, 5,000 euros, was reimbursed to her. Is that correct?
Deci am explicat.
I explained how it was refunded by the help and the fact that they lived with us. So we did not calculate or charge anything for expenses for like water or utilities. So they believed that this amount is our contribution through the help that we provided to them.
Provided that explanation after the Commission, based on the prior statements from you and the family member indicating that the 5,000 euros had been reimbursed. You were asked how the 5,000 had been repayment had been made, including the dates and amounts of each payment, and the manner in which payments were made. And that was when you said that the €5,000 were not paid in monetary means, but had been forgiven by the family member. Is that correct?
Deci încerc să
I tried to explain. The first question was if the money was refunded. That's why I did not describe how the money was refunded. But then when it was necessary to show how it was done, I gave the necessary explanation. Dar există o diferență.
Making payments to reduce a loan, to pay back a loan, and having a portion of the loan forgiven.
Deci a fost cumva
This was somewhat of a compensation for them living with us all this time. I don't know how to explain this. The fact that they are part of our family and we incurred certain expenses and they believe that this is a contribution for us living together. We lived together until 2019 and they, even now, they live where we used to live together.
Family member would say that during 2018, €5,000 of the loan was reimbursed if in fact it was forgiven.
probabil
Maybe this is what she understood that she had to explain. I mean, so initially there was no question about how the money was refunded. That's why there was no explanation. It's just, it was decided that it's back.
During 2018, in several installments, part of the loan was repaid €5,000.
am spus acest
I said this because it is obvious that we incurred certain expenses, including for them, and we believed that is the right thing. It was in several stages. It wasn't about refunding €5,000 in one day. In this way, this is how they understood compensation for what is being spent, what is being brought into the family.
mă iertați, vă rog.
Pardon me. Since 2016 until 2018, that's more than 2 years that they lived with us, and they benefited of everything that we had in our apartment, including certain expenses that were made. And in their understanding, that was a way of refunding.
Declare the amount of the forgiveness of the loan as income or a gift or donation or otherwise in your NIA declaration for 2018?
No, I do not declare because it wasn't a gift. It was a compensation of expenses for us all living together and having expenses over those years.
To add or further clarify on this?
Nu, cred că
No, I think this can be clarified only by the person who gave us this loan and also about the way this was refunded.
Questions from the commission. You were asked about the source of funds for the loan from the family member. The statement from the family member that you submitted to the commission stated that the funds came from savings and income earned by the family member. That's correct, that the statement indicated that it came from savings. And you were provided, and in the packet today is information from the tax service indicating that around the time of the loan, the family member and their spouse were earning approximately 4,700 lei a month. Do you dispute the accuracy of that information?
nu pot să
I cannot contest if it was given by a state authority, but I have an additional explanation about this, if possible. Brinister family lived in Drochia district. They have never had children. Her husband worked, but starting with 2000, it's very well known, and not the state tax service, but the customs could confirm. He was bringing cars from the Netherlands, from Germany, second-hand cars. He was also bringing various merchandise, also like second-hand, like washing machines, refrigerators, and then on the market he was selling them. And then he repeated the procedure. So they did not only leave from the money mentioned at the state tax service, and this can be confirmed by the customs service. They always had some savings because they were getting closer to older age, and since they don't have children, they don't have any support. And again, this thing in more details about their sources of income and savings reserves, they could provide more explanation, so they could be heard by you.
In documents that are in the packet that we've furnished to you today, it indicates that and this is what they look like. And I believe there's 4 pages of Excel printouts. And these are bank records from 2011 and 2012. It appears that the family member was paying back a bank loan of 7,500 lei.
Nu știu, dar dacă spune...
I don't know, but if you say so, it must be true. I cannot contest that.
So if the family member had savings amounting to 10,000 euro in 2015, why would she have needed a loan for 7,500 lei in 2011 and 12? Any understanding?
Nu pot... Nu...
I cannot explain. But I had a similar question with my parents, and I find an explanation of sorts. At the moment when they had a certain bank deposit, why did they take a credit of another amount? After that question was asked, I talked to my mother, and she was telling me, I had certain amount on a deposit, and if I withdrew it before the due date, I was losing a certain amount of money. That's why it was easier to contract a credit to pay interest than lose the interest for the deposit. About this family member, I cannot answer. If you asked this earlier, I would have asked them why did they got this loan in 2011, but for sure they had reserves, many reserves. I can only confirm it by my words. I did not prepare any other data.
I believe the bank records show that the amount that they paid to reimburse the $7,500 credit was considerably more than $7,500. And around the time of the loan, the family member, as you've indicated, had health problems and had incurred medical expenses, correct?
Health issues and surgeries started in September 2016. The second was March 2017, and the third was December 2018. So it wasn't in that period of time. I mean, she could not anticipate the time. That's why we offered all of our help, because we owed them this amount, and that's why they moved in with us later on.
Else you wish to add or further clarify?
La moment nu pot să clarific.
I cannot clarify anything right now about their credit and so on. And the loan, I could ask them and submit an explanation later on. Right now, I cannot say anything, but I recourse to them, and it wasn't the first time for us to have a loan from them. We had cases years before when they borrowed us some money and then we returned it. That's why I didn't even have any questions about their source of the money, because they really had the money. The fact that he was going, buying cars, buying goods, and then selling it means it shows that they had liquidity, like cash reserves.
Preferential price apartment in Botanica district?
Da.
In 2015, you applied for an apartment through a preferential price apartment program to improve your living conditions. Your application was approved on 27th of April of 2015. On 29 April 2015, you entered into a contract to purchase a 76 square meter apartment located in the Botanica district for the price of 27,000 euros. You accepted the apartment in 2019. Since 1997, and at the time of your application, you were the owner of a 140 square meter apartment located in Rashkan district. Between 1997 and 2019, you lived in this apartment, which you had improved by extending the ground floor by approximately 50 square meters, also adding a second floor and a garage. You told the commission that your ownership of the Rashkan apartment was not, the earlier apartment, was not an eliminating criterion for the preferential price housing program. You also stated that you told the working group that was handling the applications for preferential price housing that the apartment, the Rashkan apartment, was not finished in 2015. At present, no one has lived in the preferential price apartment. In response to questions from the commission about the apartment, you stated that only in the summer of 2022, your son and husband had started doing some work related to that apartment. So it is correct that in 2015, you contracted to purchase a 76 square meter apartment located in Botanica district for the purchase price of 27,000 euros through the preferential price program to improve your living conditions.
Da.
Yes, yes.
Of your application in 2015, you were the owner of a 140 square meter apartment located in Rashkan district, where you'd lived since 1997 or so, correct?
Da.
Yes.
So as of 2015, the Rashkan apartment had a ground floor, and you had added a 50 square foot annex, is that correct?
Da.
Yes.
A second story?
Mansarda.
Okay.
It's an attic in a way. We added an attic.
It's only 2 stories, is that correct?
Da. Da.
Yes.
Eligibility for the preferential price apartment program, you stated that when you applied, you wanted to change your living space and that your ownership of the 140 square meter apartment was not an eliminating criterion, correct?
Da. Da.
Yes.
Did not provide your application for the preferential price apartment program, but you did provide minutes of the working group that approved your application, correct? Okay.
Da. Da.
Yes.
Informed the commission that you told the working group that was handling the applications for preferential price housing that Rashkan apartment was not finished, correct?
Da.
Yes, yes. It's not finished even now.
Part of the apartment was not finished as of 2015.
Pentru
For that, I need to explain you. You said that I own a 140 square meters since 1997, which is not exactly true. In 1997, I purchased part of a house in the old part of Chisinau. The house was registered, was built in 1940, but it was built even older. Like if you look at cadastre that we found later on, it was more than 100 years old. So we did not mean to build. We maybe were thinking after to move somewhere else. After Easter, when we came back, there was no entire wall between us and our neighbors. It just fell down. We tried to put some foundation under that wall, and then we understood that this will not work because it was made of stone, and the connection between the stones used to build, it was some, I don't know, mud, something. The walls were very thick, but this connecting substance was too much. And we understood that even if we repair the wall, this will not solve the issue. So then we built the house, and only in 2008 we got the final acceptance documentation. We finished the first level and a room at the second floor, and altogether that would be 75 square meters. We provided photos that the rest of that space is used as storage only, because after we put it into operation, the neighbors started to tear down the old house and do some constructions. As I understood, the construction is quite weak because cracks went through it, and that's why we did not invest anymore. And that's why even until now, the living space, like the rooms, the kitchen, the bathroom is around 75 square meters. So I did not find the application. That's why I didn't provide it to you. But the minutes were there, and I provided. And you, from the analysis, you can see what the situation was. So that's what I wanted to clarify.
And when the work you did on the Rashkan apartment in the early 2000s included expanding the ground floor with an annex. And was the annex habitable?
The annex we built, yes, yes.
And you also built a garage and you added the second floor attic.
Nu, nu.
No, the second floor attic is on the old house. The garage that you are mentioning used to be just some barn for wood in the, because we talk about 4 apartments with joint yard, and since it's a house, everyone had some firewood storage place. I provided that documentation, and since we did not need a place for firewood, we rearranged it. We turned it into a garage, but we call it a garage, but it's 12.5 square meters, I think. I don't think you can fit a car there. I mean, the only thing that was parked there was a motorcycle, and it was more like a bike shed. But in the end, it was a shed, but it is separate. It's not near or nothing on the top of it. Nothing is built on it.
Garage out. We have the 50 square meter annex and then the old apartment, correct?
Vechiul apartament avea
The old apartment was 28 square meters, so there was only one room with a very small kitchen.
The remaining portion of the house was the only portion that was habitable?
nu, am
No, the old part of the house that is 28 square meters and about 50 square meters with a hallway and everything. And on top of that, there was like a room that was inhabitable for living, like for dormitory, for the children, the bedroom.
That was on the second story, correct?
Da, o parte.
Yes, a part of that, a part of the second floor, because the rest was not renovated and was not being used.
So of the 140 square meters, 50 meters was the annex, which was habitable. And then there was 27, 28 square meters in the apartment, and then the dormitory. So that's more than 74 square meters of habitable space, correct?
Probabil
Well, I perhaps excluded from that space the bathroom, the kitchen, and I only left there the space that was actually for living, without the hallway, without the bathroom. So there are 3 rooms, actually, 2 bedrooms, 1 living room, and a kitchen.
And the dormitory upstairs where the kids lived, correct?
inclusiv ăsta, inclusiv ăsta.
Including that one. So 2 bedrooms, one for the children, one for the parents, the living room, and then the rest is kitchen, bathroom, hallway. So what I indicated there, I left out the hallway, the bathroom, the kitchen. I only introduced the square footage, the square meters of the places where we actually, so to speak, leave the bedrooms and the living room. But there was an approximation that I put down as well.
That you received on final reception for the work on the apartment in 2008 indicates that the apartment was finished in 2008. Is that correct?
El
It is finished. The outside of it is finished, all of it. But inside the second floor, except for 1 room, is not actually finalized. It's like an attic, as in it doesn't have plastering whatsoever. I mean, the place altogether, it's sort of painted. I mean, from the outside, when you look at it, it looks finished. I have also provided pictures alongside with the answers to these questions. There were pictures from the apartment and from that second floor, like the attic part.
That the dwelling space of the Rashkan apartment was only 74 square meters. Is that correct?
Nu, n-am spus de 40.
No, not 48? Approximately. Except for the kitchen and the bathroom, there was the rooms, yes.
Coridorul.
Yes, that is correct. I mean, the one that is not the space for the living, that is. I mean, there's the total space and the livable space, so to speak, and that's why we differentiate between them. So I said what the space was, where the square meters of that living space was. I maybe should have taken measurements, but I'm not sure I made that information available, but if you look at the blueprint of the house, you can see actually what is the square meters. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 17 total plus the upstairs room.
Habitable space of 140.3 square meters, correct?
No.
Okay.
That is correct.
Lived in the Botanica apartment since you accepted it in 2019, correct?
Nu, absolut.
Nobody has lived there, and nobody lives there to this day. The apartment looks like you saw in the pictures because we just performed some works that far.
That the apartment is not yet finished and that your family only began doing work on it in the summer of 2022, correct?
Da, și pot confirma.
Yes, that is correct. I think that the neighbors too can confirm that from the association of inhabitants of the building, because we haven't done any works till that moment.
And you have been residing in the Rashkan house since 2019, correct? December of
25 de
From 25th of December 2019. Because one is an apartment and then there's one that is a house. So yes, in the house I've been living since December 25th, 2019.
Did you consider it ethical to apply for preferential price housing to improve your living conditions, to buy an apartment when you already had an equivalent or larger apartment, and that your mother was starting to build you a house more than twice the size of the apartment that you were purchasing through the program, and at least that was being considered?
discuții.
Well, the discussions regarding the apartment have started back in 2014. Actually, in 2015, when I've entered into that agreement, I didn't know at the time whether I would live in the house that my mother was building. As regards the need in that apartment, I submitted that documentation alongside with my colleagues, and it was practically everyone. It was about improving living conditions. I did not indicate in the application that I didn't have a property. I guess it was up to the commission, depending on or compared to what others are submitting. Those who, for instance, don't have any place to live at all. So then there was an offer that the SCM looked into, because if I'm not mistaken, Rishkan Sector Court was among the first ones to give this possibility to judges. So before that, this sort of programs have been carried out for the prosecutor's office and for other fields as well. That's why at that moment in time, I did not believe there was something illegal with it. And it was up to the commission that was analyzing all these applications that were filed. If I'm not mistaken, there was a member of the SCM present there. So this was a program for preferential prices that, as far as I know, there are many employees of Rishkan Court, and actually all those who've applied for it were given this possibility in Rishkan Court. So that's what I was told by the commission, that none of the applications was rejected. So I know that there was this possibility, this opportunity that I seized. If I had known that I would move into that house, I wouldn't have applied for preferential prices, and I will tell you why. Because at this moment in time, I would have finished the constructions for the house that my mother gave me, and I wouldn't be having all these properties, none of them finished. Neither is the apartment finished, nor the house. But then, further on, I didn't sell the apartment. I didn't rent it out, because that was not the purpose I pursued. At that moment in time, my purpose was to improve my living conditions. And I was honest, and it was up to the commission that made the decision to grant me the preferential price apartment. And nobody was harmed by the fact that I've also applied, as in somebody not having been given an apartment because I was given, as far as I know.
Is there anything you wish further to add or clarify?
Nu.
No.
At this time.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Are there any other members who would like to? Yeah, Aliona, and then
Just a few factual questions. Greetings. So first question concerns transfers to your sister. You mentioned that your mother transferred 30,000 euros. So was it donation, or what's the purpose of the money to transfer?
I do not know the details because I do not talk to my sister, and my parents do not tell me about this sort of details regarding transfers. I knew about it at the time because we were both there at the bank together. So I don't know about it, unfortunately. But if you check, you will see that on her name, on that same day, an amount of money was transferred.
Question concerns your husband. Could you please tell us occupation of your husband, what he's doing in here?
Da,
Yes, I've also put this down that he works in the Agency for Intervention and Payments in Agriculture. He used to work in the Ministry of Interior before that. He was the forensic expert, and then he moved to another subdivision of the ministry. He retired in 2009, and after that, he's been working in private companies, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, either in 2016 or 2017, he started working in this Agency for Interventions and Payments in Agriculture.
You mentioned that he was deeply involved in construction and helping your mom with renovation of the house. Just is he trained in this field as well, or how he could contribute that much to construction of the house?
deci la
So as for the construction works, he didn't contribute to that. He's rather supervised the work of other people who did the works. But in addition to that, I must say that when it comes to the cables, the electric cable, the power cables, he set it up. He's had a trade. He went to a trade school in the Drokia, and there were different trades like this that he studied. And then he finished university. He studied chemistry in university, and his father had like a workshop at home. He was producing doors and window frames, so this was all familiar to my husband. And I think I can show you pictures of all the appliances and all the equipment that he has to do all this sort of works. I think that this can actually be confirmed by everyone who knows us. All the furniture that we order, he was the one to assemble it at home, for instance, on his own. So he's like passionate about it, but he did not do the actual construction works at the house. When it came to setting the doors or the flooring boards, it was easy. I mean, we would look on the internet how to do it, and then we would do it on our own. It's like making a puzzle. If you have all these machineries and equipment to cut the boards, and so these are some other details. So it's different construction, and these smaller details, these are different things. Greetings. I would only like to specify something, also a factual matter. The program that was implemented, the preferential prices program, that is, the one implemented by the commission from the Roshkani court, because that's the program that you apply for, right? So that program was initiated by the management of Roshkani court. Is that correct? Right. It was not implemented by the Superior Council of Magistracy, right? But the court, that is right. And the program, the preferential prices program, in those conditions as it was thought through and developed back then, was supposed to ensure improvement of conditions. Was it a lack, or so having no place to live, or insufficiency of living space were not the criteria for eligibility? That is correct. There was the land plot provided for the constructions, and then the chair who dealt with it, it turns out that a construction company was contracted, and thus all the applications filed by the staff of the court, Roshkani court, there were many registrars, assistants, all those who applied for an apartment had their applications accepted. I would also like to greet you, Madam Miron. Now, if you allow me to ask a follow-up question, sorry to insist on it. You intentionally did answer it, though, but I would just want to make sure that I got it right. In October 2014, your mother has purchased those 2 land plots in Rishkan sector. So 2 land plots were bought and 2 houses were built. And you said that initially that's what they even thought of, having a house built for one of the family members who would be there next to the parents to help them in the future. So it was from the outset clear that somebody would move in the second house. And having been asked about the logic behind it, as in this balance of approach from your parents, or the approach of your parents, or the attitude of your parents towards the other sisters. You said that in 2018 you've acquired this right of property of ownership over the house, but one of the sisters received 30,000 euros, and another sister lives in the apartment of your parents in Rishkan sector. Now, considering the specificities of this lifetime contract, one could imagine that this discussion about who would move in, the house began much earlier than the rights of ownership were granted. So in 2014, the land plots were bought. In 2018, the rights of ownership were transferred. When did your parents decide that it would be you, the one who would move in? When the land plots were bought, and then the constructions were initiated, at the time it was no certainty of that I would be the one living there next to them. It was 3 of us, 3 children. But over the years, I guess that because of, or thanks to, considering the support of each of the 3 children, it was decided that I would be the one to move in. Now, if we speak about 2018, it was about a year or 2 before that. I mean, it was not that there was no clear purpose when the land plot was bought. I mean, at the time when they bought it, they didn't have a clear idea that I would be the one to be given the ownership rights for me to move in. Although it's 3 of us, 3 children, I think that my mother could provide all the detail as to why she decided what she did. I do not want to be the one to speak openly about these matters, because these are things that are up to them, things related to them. There are certain details that are not necessarily nice behind this story, and I think she'd be the one to provide details. And I asked her about whether she wanted to come before the commission and explain herself. So she said she would. I accept your answer, and thank you for your answer. I understand it was not of any. I did not pursue any other answer as to why you were identified as the person to be transferred the rights. I just wanted to know when this intention appeared, and I got the answer. Thank you.
Members of the Commission, no further questions. And then I would like to give you the opportunity to make a closing comment or closing statement if you would like to. So please go ahead.
You know, I applied for this competition for a position of member to the SCM. I was certain I would go through the pre-vetting process, but I didn't think that, emotionally speaking, this was going to be this hard for me. There were times when I felt somehow humiliated. I understand that you were trying to get to the bottom of things. I'm not speaking about today's hearing, not at all. But when you provide this documentation and there's these questions, and then having to go to a closer person to ask for explanations if they don't remember, you try to get it out of them somehow. I mean, there was some contradiction in between. It was very hard for me, and it has taken so long. It's been a long time, and it put me in a situation of uncertainty, because it does take a lot of time, and it's not actually about stress. It's rather about the situation that doesn't feel nice, an unpleasant situation. So what I wanted to say is that I hope that all these, well, maybe not sacrifices, but that all these emotions and feelings that I have, and I imagine that all my other colleagues go through the same feelings, I hope that it will all be worth it at the end of the day. And I hope that things really change for the better ultimately, and that this change will actually be there for everyone to see. I tried to be honest since the very moment that I accepted to even provide these explanations. I noticed that I made certain errors here and there. In certain cases, I did not the number of the account, but the number of the bank card. And I realized I was not that attentive and careful with all the details when I would fill in these declarations, but I tried to be honest, even where the law didn't demand of me doing certain things. Even the account that you asked me about, the 26,000 euros account, I didn't even know where to introduce it back in 2011. I mean, there was not a section for that at all. So I tried to put it down somewhere to at least jump ahead of these sort of situations. And if there were any errors that I made, they were not purposeful. So if it is necessary to provide further additional information, I will do that. And I hope that all this effort, your efforts, my efforts, I hope that they will all be worth it and that they will lead to improvements in the system. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one little organizational issue. The documents that we provided you this morning, we would like to have the documents back as a standard practice. And then in addition to that, we now come to the end of the hearing. I thank you for your submissions and answering to all the many questions that we had to you. As you will know, the Commission will now withdraw for deliberations, and as much as possible, the Commission will strive at delivering a decision within a month after the date of the hearing today. And I hereby declare this hearing closed. Thank you very much.
Vă mulțumesc.